we are talking about one of the most important topics on the planet. You've had this happen before where someone you love has had a spouse die and you don't know what to do. And when I met Paula and she told me about her book, I said, we need to talk because as a former minister, I've had people in this situation many times. I've had family in this situation. Paula, how often do you encounter this type of situation?
It's interesting, Carrie. Now that I'm aware and work in the space and working with widow and people with grief, I encounter it all the time, everywhere.
Oh my God.
And
Oh my God.
it's so powerful because I feel like the people are just being sent to me.
Yeah. It's like once you embrace this assignment that you feel like has been given to you, I'm positive that that's true.
Yeah.
So, Paula, you're in this amazing space, and I'm going to share your website with people. But let's get a little bit of background on you.
Sure.
How long have you been in this space? What do you do? Let's hear a little bit about WH Cornerstone and some other things as well.
Sure. So we are financial advisors and we work with widows. So I've been in the business probably getting close to 25 years now. The business has been around more like 30. I work with my husband and we really enjoyed supporting widows. Growing up,
Mm.
my grandmother Mary was widowed at the age of 50. My grandfather died a
50.
year after I was born, so never knew him. So I saw this woman navigate life on her own for the next 25 years. And so that was always somebody, widowhood was a space I was comfortable with and understood, but never to the depth of when we started to work with people. And now, you know, I, I've been described as a fierce widow advocate
Mm.
by a group called the Widow Squad, and I just have learned the widow journal, I'm sorry, the widow journey so well that people actually usually ask me, "Have I been widowed?" And I'm like, "No, I haven't. I just understand the journey from a very deep aspect."
That's powerful. I love this book. And by the way, we're relaunching it. It looks amazing. Aren't you happy with the way this looks?
I'm thrilled that's one of the things that people put the book in their hand
Yeah,
and they're like, the feel of it just feels so great. And the cover of the widow journal is
so good.
beautiful. And then the grief journal is just as beautiful in a whole different way. But
Yeah.
people are just so drawn into the beauty and the sort of the peace that it gives you as soon as you put it in your hand.
Well, let's talk about what this is going to be because we met through, was it Strategic Coach?
Yep. There's
Yeah.
strategic coach.
Yeah. And immediately I started hearing your heart and I said, "Oh my gosh, this is a resource." I think it's a brand match. We're igniting souls, but if
Yeah.
you care about people, which I know you do, but I'm talking to the public here. If the folks care about people, and I know they do, otherwise they wouldn't be listening. This is a resource that you can hand people. What is this going to do?
This, it's interesting. I sent someone said, when people have no words, this book gives all the words that are needed.
Ooh,
And
that's deep.
we as humans struggle with what to say to someone when they're in grief. And
Yes.
I've gone through grief training. And one of the things they tell you is don't say, "Oh, I'm so sorry," because you are never going to be as sorry as the person who lost their loved one. So these words sound trite, they're just
Mm,
empty. And the other thing is when people say, "Oh, call me if you ever need anything." Well, the
yeah.
person grieving, they are not in the frame of mind to think of anything that they need. They're struggling. So this is a perfect gift to give to someone. Instead of just offering some words, give them something substantial. And also, this is a much better tool or gift than another casserole,
Mm,
because half people will tell you they throw away half the food. They can't eat. They can't get through it. The other thing is flowers. We all want to send flowers, and flowers are wonderful, but what flowers are often at the funeral or at the wake, and
wow.
then the flowers become a burden to keep alive when you're now
Wow.
dealing with someone who's died, and that is really difficult. So this is such a nice tool gift to leave behind for someone that they can pick up when they're ready.
I
And
never
one
thought about that, by the way.
really,
You just something in my mind where I don't even think we try to do this, but when we buy somebody flowers when there was a funeral or now they have to see those flowers die.
Yep. And it's
And now
another
it's like,
death.
oh my gosh, I never thought of that. So
Yeah.
your book provides tools and resources and hope. What are people going to find when they purchase a copy?
So initially, if people aren't thinking carefully, they think it's my journey as a widow, but I am not a widow. It is all about their journey. So this is not telling them what to do. This is offering some
Mm,
guidance. So some people, I've written it sort of the chronologically. So when you first are widowed, you find out you're suddenly single. And then you realize that when is this grief going to end? There's just no time frame for grief.
mm.
And then you're going to come through obstacles. And then I've gone through some chapters on faith and wisdom and gratitude, love, money.
Wow.
So kind of important topics that people need to deal with. You know, people often don't feel grateful when they've lost a loved one.
Yeah.
They don't think they'll ever love again. But love is in our hearts, gratitude's in our hearts, and it's, you know, trying to bring it out and find ways to help people do that. And then you get to a point where you're moving forward and you're sort of standing on your own 2 feet again. And so some people choose to do it chronologically, but one friend said, you know, as a 2-year out widow, I was gifted this book, and I immediately started to give it to a friend, thinking I was through my journey. And then I realized as I looked at it, I wasn't. So I kept it.
Wow.
And she said, I'm going to read you here. It was page 99. She just opened it, and random it said, "Do not think of me as gone. I am with you still in each new dawn." Native American poem. And they're quotes. So they're quotes that are going to get you at different points. And some quotes won't speak to people, but other quotes like that one, she picked it up and she didn't stop journaling from that point. She just would randomly say, "This quote speaks to me today," and she would journal on what that was in her heart at that moment. So people look at it all different ways. And then there are people who say, "I don't journal." I said, "That's okay. You can still read it. You can still read a quote and ponder it. You don't have to write about it." And I think that's what's really important is you can use this any way you want. And, you know, it's just to help you get out of your head,
Yes.
you know, and back into your heart at a time when you just don't know where to turn and navigate. And this is a way to process emotions, which I think is so important.
We just had some more people join us. Welcome. We're talking about grief. We're talking about this widow's journal. And I think you are onto something, Paula. I think that writing is healing. In my
Yeah.
own journey, as I think about my own life, I was stuck in depression at certain points in my life, and what got me out of it was poetry and journaling. You look at
Ah.
even King David. Yeah, you look at King David in the scriptures. He's the whole Psalms are his grief, essentially.
Mm.
So I think this is really powerful. And then you have this other book. Let's go to this other book too. You're a multi-author, which is pretty
Yeah.
cool. I don't think we've ever had a launch where we've had a book on each side, the left and the right at the top.
I love it. I love being
But
the first.
yeah, so let's get to you here. What is this other book about?
So many people would say, "Oh, I'm not a widow," but this would be really great for my friend who lost her sister. This would be really
Mm,
great for someone who lost a parent. And then a friend
yeah.
said, "This would be great for someone who's lost their identity." You know, I have a friend who's going through cancer right now, and she doesn't know who she is. And this is a wonderful way to say, "Wow, what have I lost?" You know, I'm grieving, and so this is a way to capture feelings that way. This is great for, you know, a lot of people have identity loss when they go into retirement, especially if they had a
Yes.
really big job, interacted with a lot of people. So this is a tool for that. And, you know, a friend who encouraged me, my friend Sherry, who encouraged me to really do this second version, she's like, "I can even see someone giving this to someone who lost a pet." Pets are so
Oh,
much like
yeah.
family members that there's a lot
Oh,
of
I've
grief in
heard that.
losing a pet. Yeah. So this is, you know,
Definitely.
and actually interesting, Carrie, I was at a widows conference a couple months ago, and I had both of these with me. And a widow, there's all widows there, And she says, I want to buy the grief one for my friend who's a recent widow. And I said, oh, you don't want the widow one? And she said, no, she's not ready to embrace the word widow yet.
Wow.
That was really, really struck me. So this
Yes.
is also good for someone who is a widow too.
I think that's so powerful, and I'm glad that you did this second version. This one came out 2 years later.
Yep. Yep.
So you just seeing through life other forms of grief. I'm so glad you mentioned the job thing because that is so true.
Yeah.
Especially, I'm not gonna say just with men, but I know guys that I think the lifespan of men in particular after retirement goes down like fast
Yes.
because a lot of them haven't had their, like you said, their identity in things other than their work.
Yep. And I think one of the big things about retirement is you need to be retiring to something, not just from something. And the
Mm,
people that retire just from something, can't wait to get to that, finish line, they're the ones that struggle the most. Those who have purpose, a new hobby, they're the ones that they kind of slide right in and keep going and just down a different lane.
that's true. Wow. So
Yeah.
what do you hope? I mean, besides people getting copies for I think it's I mean, I see the GoFundMe on my Facebook where somebody says, My friend wasn't even planning on it. They were healthy, and then this person lost their husband. I mean,
Yeah.
we see these, and yeah, the GoFundMe is nice, and you know, $25 or whatever. But what if you were able to buy a journal and give this
Yeah.
person something much more?
I think that's a great point. Again, my friend Sherry, who encouraged me on this one, she said, I just bought 10 copies of this because I'm not going to send a sympathy card anymore. I'm going to send this journal when someone passes away because
Wow.
it's a bigger statement. And you're right. The GoFundMe's, as much as I think they're very important, I think in our society, just writing, I'll just say write the check, drop it on my credit card. I'm done. I'm
Yeah,
absolved of future support of this person. I've done my part.
yeah,
And, in reality, their grief is just beginning. And that contribution, you're right, is helpful. But something like this is going to be around for a long time. And my friend Judy, she said there were days that she couldn't even pick this up. It was just too much.
mm,
And then there were days that she said it was an absolute godsend that I could pick it up and move forward with this. So, another friend who lost her son, kind of that prime of the life, just said, you offered us something where no words could help, but now we
yes.
have this lasting book to help us each day. And I think that's where you're remembering, it's something that lasts. And after the funeral, people pack up. They go back to their lives when the people in grief are just
Right.
beginning to figure it out.
Yeah, nobody wants to be non-empathetic.
Right.
We all wanna give, we don't know how, and you're right. Thoughts and in fact, even our society has kind of a joke, not it's not really a funny joke, but, you know, they say, "We need something more than thoughts and prayers are with you."
Yeah.
And this book is a journal, it's a tool. What in I know you shared what inspired you was the family member who passed. I think at 50, oh my gosh, I'm like 3 years away from
Yeah.
that. Um, but we don't know what's gonna happen, many times. So, let's talk about your business for a moment.
Sure.
How does the business integrate?
So where we're really good as we do curveball life planning. So helping people, preferably before a curveball hits their life, so that they're prepared. That means getting their affairs in order, getting, estate plans done, making sure everything's titled properly, that they're well funded. Because,
Mm,
when a spouse passes away, especially for women, their standard of living drops dramatically.
wow.
Especially stereotypically, men have been the larger um, breadwinners. And so to lose that salary and then have to still raise a family off of either, hopefully there was life insurance, or if it's social security. But people often forget, if you're living off social security and your spouse dies, you only get to keep one of the social securities. You don't get double, but your expenses don't really go in half. So there's just a lot of things. So we step in to help people beforehand, and then we also step in after to help people rebuild their lives so that they can figure out how they want to live their sort of second act, how they want to keep moving forward. And we do our best work with people. You'll understand this phrase: people who believe their big futures are bigger than their past.
Yes.
And even in such a tragic situation, you still can have a bigger future. It's a choice.
Yes.
I'm not saying it's easy, but you still have a choice to say, I'm going to go on living. And, I think we are very good at trying to help people do that. So we do our best work with people who can resonate with that. We're not going to do our best work if someone's going to be stuck and can't move forward.
Well, I love this because number one, I've never heard the term curveball planning, and
Yep.
I see that you've TM'd that. That's pretty cool.
Yep.
So you've just recognized the pattern so much that you said we're gonna just help people.
Yep. Exactly. And it's some of the most rewarding work we do, helping people rebuild after the loss of their spouse, and helping make sure that they're protected and their next generation's protected as much as we can. We do really good work with people. There was a business involved. They were running a business, and how do we sort through that? Being small business owners ourselves, we're really good at being able to understand what to do and help guide on that journey. So we just, curveball life planning is everything. It's just so important, because curveballs come in, they come, it can be death, it can be a job loss, it can be an illness. We had a client years ago who had stopped working, was going back to work, and she got brain cancer, and then ended up
Wow.
spending 2/3 of her life savings on experimental drugs, and even had to move to near a hospital in Florida to try to continue to extend her life. And unfortunately, she did die from that brain cancer.
That
So,
mm,
how do you be prepared for something like this? And at the time, her husband was living on Social Security disability. So there was, like, to lose that much money, it was heartbreaking. And it's really hard. So really trying to help people understand that some form of a curveball is going to come along. Um, you know, it could be big, it could be little, but really being prepared for it is just key.
I want to encourage people to subscribe because look at these articles. I mean, you're talking about things that a personal board of directors, oh my gosh,
Yep.
um, going paperless at any age, fire up your new year. Like, this is super practical, being a caregiver, charitable distributions, summer books. I love I love where you're going with all this. So, what do you see as the big vision behind WH Cornerstone? I mean, obviously you got your books, you're helping people with the grief, you got the curveball planning. What's your big MTP, massive transformative purpose?
I mean, we're here to help people build wealth and live the life that they want to lead,
Mm,
and we really like to do generational wealth building. So helping people make thoughtful decisions for their lifetime and for those behind them. So, having those tools and strategies, it's all about creation. You know,
yeah,
we definitely enjoy being in the creation stage of
mm,
wealth and just the distribution stage.
that's
It's an
cool.
important stage too, but it's really neat. We had a client pass away this summer, and his 6 kids inherited, and we are working with 5 of them. Like,
Mm,
That's powerful. And it was all on the recommendation of dad always said how much he admired you, and it's like now to help them build their legacy too is just really powerful. There's just so many layers. We are not your average financial planner. We are definitely to take the time to dive into issues like this.
Oh yeah.
Most grief is not something. We're not just going to stuff the box of Kleenex at you. It's like,
Right.
we're gonna talk. We're gonna help you through. We're there for the good days, the not so good days, and being there to support and sort of figure things out. And my spouse and partner Bill, he wrote a book on helping your spouse inherit your IRA. So we've got the technical
Ooh.
side, we've got the emotional side, and I think we both have high levels of EQ, emotional
Yes. Emotional
intelligence,
intelligence. Yes.
which is really key.
That
And
is.
go ahead.
What I like about this too, I've seen people pass. There's almost this martyr card that I see people play. You kind of reminded me about this about 5 minutes ago. I feel like the spouse who passed on doesn't want the spouse remaining to suffer and have a smaller future and say, well, I'm going to give up on life too. I mean, how tragic is that? You don't get any extra credit by walking around and being stuck in your grief. Now, I'm not saying just get over it. I'm not saying that. Grief is normal, grief is natural. But some people, and you can probably attest to this, some people never move through the grief. And it's
Absolutely.
like they've died. What do you
Yeah.
think about that?
I think that is a very common thing. It is a very sad situation to see because it is like someone who's a walking dead. They're
Wow.
there, they're existing, but they just can't enjoy life.
Mm.
And you see the broken heart syndrome, maybe two 85-year-olds, like my two
Yeah.
in-laws passed away a week apart from each other. People say, oh, they must have died of a broken heart. They were 89. That's very different. But when you
Yeah.
have someone who's in their 50s, I always say life is meant for the living. You're meant to go on. And if you had a spouse that didn't want you to do that, maybe you didn't have a healthy marriage,
Yeah.
actually this was kind of neat. I was talking to a friend yesterday, and her mother-in-law passed away about a year ago. Father-in-law came for Thanksgiving, and he's in his 80s, and he's found someone. And he said, I never thought this would happen, but he's so excited. And I think this is exciting because we're meant to be coupled. We're meant
Yeah.
to have close relationships. And I think it's healthy. And it doesn't mean this person replaces your loved one. They're an
Right.
and. It's not an or, it's an and. And our hearts are big enough to love just in different ways, different people. You'll never replace the love of your life, but you can go on and you can keep living.
Yeah.
And one of the we did a webinar last year, which was that New Year, New You, with this woman, Barbara Kenyon, and
Mm.
she's been widowed twice. And Barbara announced 2 weekends ago she just got married again. And she was widowed about a year and a half ago, but she's a widow coach, and she's also a widow dating coach. And she said, I want to love. And she got married again, and she's thrilled, and she's trying to show people how to do that. And I think that's really important when you have role models like that.
It's a very edgy topic because, there is this loyalty, disloyalty, but again, I feel that when I pass, it's not if for any of us, last time I checked, but when I pass, I want everyone I leave behind to reach for bigger, better things. Like, again, I think it's a sad thing just to be like, well, everyone all just stops living.
I agree.
Um,
Yeah, I'm just going to offer. So next week is National Grief Awareness Week.
okay.
And I'm participating in a program which is called Healing Together Through the Holidays with a woman named Samantha Ruth. And I
Ooh.
just participated in a holiday was it Holiday Hope Summit with the Widow Squad. And so there are people out there who are offering tools to help people get through grief, especially the holidays. Tough time.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely tough time, especially if it's a first. Actually, sometimes the second is harder than the first. But having these tools are so important. So they're out there. You also have to kind of push yourself to
Yes.
take advantage of them.
Well, I'm going to encourage people, like you said, the holidays are coming.
Yep.
This is a gift that is much, I'm going to say it, it's much more important than a sweater.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with a sweater, but my guess is people probably already have 5 of them. And this is something that's actually going to move someone toward healing. I think, Paula, that people want to get in touch with you. I think they'll want to subscribe to your articles.
Yeah.
And we'll put the link in. In fact, I'm going to grab the link right now and put that in there because some of your articles got me thinking. I'm pretty interested. And I just think it's amazing that you've decided to dedicate some of your life to this. There's the website right there. We're putting it all over the place here.
Thank you.
But I would ask you one more time for people who just jumped in. What was the motivation again? Was it your grandmother, you said?
So it was my grandmother Mary, but there was another piece to it. I was actually at a Jack Canfield Breakthrough to Success program, and the idea just kept coming. I want to have a book. I want to have a book. And when I started to think about it, I was collecting quotes, inspirational quotes. I've been to Tony Robbins programs. Tony's great with quotes, Jack. And then I just started to realize, like, I had a lot of quotes, and I just started to say, wait a minute, I'm going to start organizing these in chapters.
Wow.
And then from there, it just kind of came together, and it was really magical. And it's like there's no greater thrill to be able to give this to someone in grief.
Yes.
It's just like, I want to get this in the hands of everyone because I know it has an impact to, like you said, move people through grief.
Yes.
And it is much more powerful than a sweater, than a fruit cake at the holidays. And as I say, flowers are responsibility that you're going to have to take care of as they die. And that's really not what you want to offer someone at this time of someone having died.
That's right. Rise up a grief journal, rise up a widow's journal. Get them both. Like Paula said, I know people very close to me whose pet is very significant. Like you said, a family member. And to get them a journal like this is super powerful. Work when you transition and leave a job. We've mentioned that. Family members. Life is full, just like the birds, I think was the song, but a time to weep, a time to laugh, a time to bury, a time to die.
Ecclesiastes.
Yeah. And we're not a good society where we do that well.
No.
We kind of hide it. So I'm glad that you're bringing this super significant issue out into the light. When things are out into the light, we can deal with it and heal. So Paula, thank you so much. It's been an honor to be with you today.
Thank you, Carrie. I'm thrilled for the opportunity, and thanks for helping get this message out to the world.
And I feel good because now I have a tool that I can send people. And so folks do that as well. Like she said, she had somebody buy 10 and they are loaded and ready to go. Thanks so much. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you.